The following recording is brought to you by APQC, your source for benchmarking and best practice research.
This is the APQC Benchmarking Alignment Worksheet. And when we benchmark with our members, we use this tool to ensure that alignment and that everything is tied together. You can see that on the left is starting to ensure the linkage from the organizational level down to the operational level, which is the division or the unit or the agency, down to the tactical or the process level. So it flows down through the organization, and you'll see that once you get to the tactical process level, that's where you're going to start seeing measures or metrics noted. And these are the measures and metrics that are the output or the outcome measure for that process. They're going to be those leading and lagging indicators that are stated very specifically and defined very specifically. And they help maintain that as an alignment or that roll up to the higher level of the organizational outcome. So let's look at a few examples of the benchmarking alignment worksheet. This is a graphical depiction of the benchmarking alignment worksheet, and it really depicts the cascading relationship of the organizational outcome to the tactical process. You can see that this organization had a strategic goal of product innovation, and the objectives they set forth were around cost, schedule, and technical performance. And they knew that there was a business driver around their product development costs, and then they had a process within product development called requirements definition. And this is how they had flowed out from the specific process of whether it's requirements definition, preliminary design, detailed design, or design integration, how that linked back up and how that helped them define what product innovation meant. When we work with our members to develop their performance measurement frameworks, we measure this structure. So it not only can help align your benchmarking activities, but also help align your measurement activities because they go hand in hand. What our research has shown is that organizations that define or measure key performance indicators at the macro level, as well as those tactical performance measures at the given process level, it allows them for kind of global monitoring of how the organization is doing, but it puts the control of the actual change and the actual improving of the performance of the company at the local level where it needs to be. The people that are performing the tasks within those process areas are those that are best equipped to improve it. So making sure that they understand how they're going to be measured and how that measure flows up is very key to maintaining the overall monitoring of health, but also the most effective improvement of the productivity of the organization. Now let's look at how we would depict this in the benchmarking alignment worksheet. So you can see it just outlines product innovation through cost, schedule, and technical performance. And you can see the metric that they have there at the objective or the department level is product development costs. And then at the business process level, they're starting to outline measures around the total cost of requirements gathering, the total cost of the preliminary design phase, total cost of detailed design phase, and the total cost of design integration phase. So this is a single example where you can see how they've dissected this process from a cost perspective. There were many, many other measures they had, but just to keep it simple, I wanted to look at just the cost measures that they used. And this is how they broke down and defined their process, and they were able to gather their own internal measures from this and see how their process was performing and look to how they could improve their process, but were able to use this as they went out and they started benchmarking. So let's look at an example of the complete benchmarking alignment worksheet. You can see that what this slide represents are all of the information related to the benchmarking alignment worksheet. You'll see that there's a fourth column that we've added, and what it does is it extends out looking at specific processes and metrics to the scope of a benchmarking activity. So once you understand your tactical processes and what you're going to measure there, it gives you the opportunity to synchronize your benchmarking activities and continue that cascading linkage of to the overall organizational outcome. This ensures that any resources that you have to go for within your organization, whether they be time or money to spend on benchmarking, is going to be tied to an ultimate outcome. So let's take our previous example and add this last column. So you can see from our product innovation example from the earlier slides, I removed the first two columns of the organizational level as well as the department level, and I'm just focusing on what the process level looks like and now the benchmarking activities. You'll note that for the two examples of requirement definition and preliminary design, I've added an example of a brief scope statement and the metrics tied to potential benchmarking activities. These are really basic examples. So as they looked at the requirements definition process and they were looking at their total requirements cost, they felt that they had some issues around technology and the use of technology. So what they wanted to understand is not just the total cost of technology related to product innovation requirement gatherings or product requirement gathering. They had many, many other questions about how organizations manage this stage of the process and how they enabled or used technology throughout the organization to gather requirements for potential new products. As they looked at the preliminary design phase, they felt that they had an issue in the roles that engineers played in the preliminary design phase. So here they didn't necessarily want to look at cost, but they wanted to look at the total hours spent by an engineering staff person during the preliminary design phase. So they could see if the amount of time their engineers spent were more or less than what other organizations spent or had their engineers spend while they were doing the preliminary design phase, because they felt that could make or break a product. You wanted to have enough engineering time there to make sure that it was something that was even viable or possible before you went through any of the other stages of trying to scope it out and put further specs to it just to find out 3 stages later that, you know, it's not something that's even feasibly possible. So that's something that they wanted to look at, and that's how they defined and cascaded down from this overall organizational goal of being a product innovation company down to a very tactical benchmarking project that went out and looked at how do you better leverage IT and how do we make sure we're appropriately leveraging our engineers as we go through the product innovation process.
Thank you for listening. For more information on our nonprofit organization, visit APQC online at apqc.org.